Hi, everybody. This is Jason here. Today we talked about core values, mentoring, pivoting. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Jason, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
I am looking forward to an unbelievable conversation with you today. I know a little bit about your background, but if you could start us off by telling our audience who you are, what you do, and we'll jump into it.
Awesome. So my name is Jayson Friedman. I'm the CEO of Interiors by Brown in Boca Raton. We're a high-end luxury interior design firm.
Tell me more about that. Come on, that's a great business. How'd you get into that?
So I'll back up a little bit. I came from a furniture background, and I grew up in the furniture business. Literally, my family, my father and his partners had furniture stores in South Florida, high end furniture stores, 18 locations. And I grew up in that business, going to the stores, to the warehouse on Saturday mornings. My dad would take me to the stores. And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be in that business for whatever reason. I just love family business. I just loved it. And so after college, I went to school in Arizona State University. I got my business degree. I came back to Florida and worked in the family business and started on the sales floor, learning the business and learning the merchandise and gradually, worked my way up as a buyer, and eventually became the vice president of merchandising at Carl's Furniture.
Right. And that was a big store down here in Florida.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, everybody knew Carl's, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we had locations, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward County, 18 locations, and then eventually we got into the casual outdoor business as well. And so I worked in that business from 1993 to 2008. And my dad was the president, and unfortunately, my father passed away in 2005. And
How old were you at that time?
I was 34, and my father was a tremendous mentor to me, and it was just a huge blow. Personally, obviously, and at that time, the business really changed. My dad was really the guy that was the glue in that particular business. We had 500 employees, and he was the guy who would go down into the warehouse and know everybody's name. He would ask about their kids. He was that kind of guy. And
Did you pick up that same personality trait or like a way of being along the way?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I say I definitely have that DNA. He was that guy that, he'd come into the room and make everybody feel important,
Like lights up the room.
lights up the room, and had that connection with everybody. And when he passed away in 2005, it just, the business changed, and I stuck with it for a couple of years and transitioned in 2008 to our outdoor business, which was Carl's Patio. And so myself and a couple other people within that business got involved with a private equity group and bought the business. And I didn't love it. I did not love the outdoor business compared to the indoor business. I stayed on for just about 5 years, and I knew a gentleman in Boca that that had an interior design firm. And it was called Brown's Interiors, and his name was Steve Brown. And somebody put me in touch with him, and at the time he was 58 and needing some help in his business, and he was looking to lay back a little bit and enjoy life, and he really didn't have anybody there to help him out. So we had several meetings, and then eventually I went to work at Brown's Interiors in Boca, and learning that business, because we were really in the retail business. This is really a completely different business with interior design.
Right. So you really did have to learn something new.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you kind of pivoted there.
Yeah, we went from a real retail business to a interior design business. So it was definitely a pivot. It was definitely a learning curve for me. And Steve was a tremendous guy and a tremendous mentor to me. I got to work with Steve for 18 months. And it was in April. It was in April of 2014. It was his father's, I think, 85th birthday. Picked up the phone in the morning, called his father, wished his father happy birthday. Went out on a bike ride, probably to one of our clients on Lyons Road here in Boca, and was tragically struck and was killed instantly. And that was April of 2014.
And you were there for a year and a half. You guys had gotten pretty close at that point.
18 months. Yeah. And it was tragic. It was just a tragic for the business. It was tragic for the community. And at that point, my responsibilities changed very quickly within the business. And I was geared to really lead the business at that point.
So at that point, before we go there, so you became the CEO. I mean, that's where it ultimately went.
It ultimately went to I became the CEO, yes, in 2016.
All right, I want to back way up. Okay, so you had so many things along the way that I just heard where you had to pivot, you had to be flexible. Things changed, like unexpected things happened a couple times, in your life, and in each case, you were able to be successful or to find a way through it, right? So bring me back to your childhood real quick, before you went to college, before all this, and tell me what it is about your upbringing that set you up to be able to navigate life like this.
Yeah. I really, look back, and it all is, I believe, based on my father, and he was such a mentor to me growing up, not only as a father, but within the business. And a lot, I believe, was driven by our relationship and the kind of person that he was. And I always wanted to be like him.
From the time you were a little kid?
I wanted to be like him. I mean, just the way he interacted with people, and the way people looked up to him, and the leader that he was, I believe was really based on the relationship with my father. And we had he was my best friend. He was my best friend. So a lot was driven by me wanting to be like him and be successful. And again, like I said earlier, I had a lot of that DNA in me. And he was a huge part of where I am today.
And you can attest to the fact that it's so important, for our children, that we as parents, we realize the impact, positive and negative, that we have. And you're saying, you've done really well, and you're attributing it to your dad, and that whole experience that you had, and to this day you're still carrying that. consciously pass that along to your kids? Do you think about doing the same thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. You want to create that, to be that role model and to guide and to set them up for success in life. So the ability for me to do that with my kids is just
Powerful, right? Do you feel in some way that, how old did you say your dad was when he passed away?
so my dad was 62.
Okay. So, I mean, that's young. And these days, that's young, right?
Really, really young.
So do you feel in some way that you're kind of carrying on and fulfilling where he probably would have continued to go if he stayed in the business and continued doing what he's doing? Like you're carrying the torch.
Yeah, yeah. I reflect, here and there, and obviously, I think, he would be very proud of where I'm at today. So I think about that, frequently, and I wish he was here to be able to see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, bring me to CEO, right? So you had some tragedies, you had some things happen. Before we go there, actually, mentors. Was there any other mentors along the way? Like, what else did you learn aside from your dad that you still bring to the table? Because nobody taught you how to run a business. You saw certain things about connection, with your dad and the way people reacted, and so you're like, yeah, this is cool. Yeah. I want to be like that, but to be the CEO of a company, instinctually, certain things have to be there. Yeah. Where'd you pick that up?
So listen, I was very fortunate along the way to have people that were also successful to bounce things off of, and to have a mentor or mentors. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have those people surrounding me. There's no question about it. So there was a childhood friend that I've known virtually my entire life.
His childhood,
right? His brother was involved in a group years ago, and I heard it over the years when I was just starting out in the workforce, and it was a peer group called Tech, and eventually it changed its name to Vistage, and it was it's a CEO group, and so when I was tasked to really lead the company as a CEO, I had no clue what to do. I've never been a CEO.
Yeah, that's real right there.
I had no clue. It's like,
fake it till you make it.
Yeah. You're the guy. You're going to lead the company, and had no clue. So one of the first things I did is I reached out to my friend who was involved in this, and over the years I remember him talking about it, and he goes, Jayson, you got to check this out, and it would be really worth your while. And so,
can I interrupt you for 1 second, because I want to make sure we don't skip over. So at this point, you had already had the tragedy with Steve. You got tapped to be the CEO of the company, which, by the way, in this region is a big company. There's a lot of clients, and it's a lot of responsibility, right? So as you're saying, like, well, I didn't know what to do. That led you to this. Like, that was a time, that was a path. You already were the CEO. And you're like, I know I need to continue to educate myself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. How do I lead the company? I didn't know anything about core values and culture, recruiting, hiring, none of that. Yeah. And so
people take for granted the amount of things as a CEO that you have to be aware of, which is pretty much every single thing in the company. It's not easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy. And so I reached out to Vistage. It was probably the best thing that I ever did, because I was in a room with 12 or 15 other CEOs of companies, ranging from $5 to $10 million in revenue up to hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Interesting mix.
Interesting mix.
A lot of experience in that room.
A lot of experience in the room, and what I learned over the years of going to a meeting every month for an entire day was just incredible.
So you guys get together and you're sharing ideas, sharing stories, bouncing like, hey, how did you do this? How did you figure this out? From people that have done it successfully. There's a huge message right there, which is constantly educating yourself and never letting your ego get in front of that. Like you know what I mean? Just really focusing on what's best for that business. And in your case, it's like education. All of our cases, as a CEO, it's education.
But what I learned, Matt, is really no matter what size company it is, whether it's a $5 million business or it's a $300 million business, the issue's all the same. They're all the same. They're exactly the same. And it's really how you attack it. And so sitting in a room with 12, 15 other CEOs and gaining that experience and that knowledge and learning was just invaluable to me. And so, at that point, I felt like I had a lot of the tools to really bring back to Brown and.
How long was that going on until you had that feeling that, okay, something's different here?
Very quickly.
Yeah. Like the first day, you're like, I'm good to go.
It was never the first day, but it was quickly that I learned that sitting in a room with those minds, that there was a lot of value there. And each and every time that I was there was something new that I learned. And it was incredible.
Did you ever hear the mastermind theory? It's been in like a lot of different books, but the idea of when you get people around a table and for a common cause, and there's no distractions and you're all just there talking, after a while, it's almost like there's one mind above you and you all just kind of come together and you get into this flow state, and business people have been doing this for forever. But it's called like a mastermind group, and it sounds like that's what's going on there. And so many good things come out of that. It's really powerful. I haven't done it in the formal way that you've done it, yes. But when you get together with business owners and you really start talking, it always inevitably happens, Absolutely. But you guys are doing it in a formal way. It's a really valuable thing you're talking about. What's it called again? Vistage.
Vistage.
Yeah. It's huge.
It was huge. It was huge. It really was. And I attribute to a lot of the things that we've done over the last 7 years based on that experience and going through it.
So now tell me, past 7 years, this happened 7 years ago. You got bumped up to CEO, right? So out of the mentoring and coaching and out of the group and anything else you've been doing, where has the business gone? What have you achieved through your learning that you can now pass on to the people that are watching?
Yeah, again, the business, and Steve did a phenomenal job at within the business. I mean, the connection that he had with the clients and the employees was phenomenal. And basically what we've done is just taken what he ingrained for 35 years and just have really made it better. And that's through, process and procedure, which, the business as a mom and pop per se really never had. One of the things that came out of Vistage that we've implemented in Brown is an operating system, which we never had before. It's called EOS. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I have. Not sure why.
The author of the book, by the way, there's a book called Traction, which I highly, highly recommend. If you haven't read Traction, I would definitely read it.
It's a great title.
It's based on the entrepreneurial operating system. And basically, as a CEO, there's a million things that go on within the business that you have to look at each and every day to run the business. Basically, EOS has dialed it down to 6 key components and focusing on those 6 key components on how to run the business.
And you've done this and you've applied this. So this is a book that talks about that, but this also came out of the group?
Out of Vistage,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a speaker that came in and spoke about the operating system. the book Traction in EOS. And I read the book, and I could tell you it was probably the best business book that I ever read, because it made so much sense.
So you were able to take that and actually turn it into something you use.
Yeah. We implemented the EOS system in our business, which is an operating system. And I would say, whether it's EOS or any operating system, that anybody should be running their business off some sort of operating system.
So when you say operating system, we're not talking about technology, obviously. We're talking about processes, procedures, workflows, accountability.
Yeah. What's the proper way to run a meeting? How do you solve how do you solve issues within the business? Data is so important to be able to run the business. How do you create a scorecard within the business that if you're out on an island and you have to look at the business and you got to understand what the business looks like, what does that look like as far as the data and the metrics, and creating that within the business, making sure that you have the right people in the right seats, and how do you go about doing that?
Talk about that. That's a common challenge.
Yeah.
Right? We've all been there, right? You've got the team you've got. Then there's a team that maybe you should have, which is difficult because we get there's relationships. We like the people we work with and the employees, and you kind of want to do the right thing and keep them employed, but sometimes it just isn't the right fit, and it's stopping the business from reaching its goals. Very tough decision for a CEO to make, or a manager.
I would think, and again, I sat in the room with 12, 15 other CEOs ranging to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. The people issue is by far the toughest issue. It was always the toughest issue. When you looked at the things that we talked about, that covered a lot of our time in dealing with people. And, core values is a big deal. And creating a set of core values within your company, and hiring, reviewing, and unfortunately terminating employees based on core values is a big deal. And I feel like we've done at Brown really a phenomenal job in hiring people that share the core values that we believe in, and that's a big deal.
It's huge because you're vibing together, like you're all on the same wavelength. And the opposite of that is toxicity, right? So the second there's something toxic in the group, it spreads really quickly, right? And that's something to really be aware of.
It is, and the toughest thing is, as a leader in the business, and many leaders have a tough time. They recognize there's that cancer within the business, but they don't do anything about it. They leave it.
Yeah. For so many reasons.
And you can't do it. You can't do it because it affects all the other employees, and they're looking at leadership and saying, guys, what are you doing here?
Yeah, for sure. So processes, systems, core values. By the way, I think you're right. Core values is probably the number one most important thing, because if you don't have that, where do you go from there? So what are the core values that you developed out of this group and the experience? Is it the same thing now as it was 6 years ago, or has it evolved?
It is. We have. So what we've done is, and again, this came out of Vistage. We have 30 what we call fundamentals, and these are the things that are just check your ego at the door.
Love that.
Okay. Respect for all, professionalism, all these things. And what we've done in our business, Matt, is that each one of our employees is assigned a fundamental at the beginning of the year. Okay. And then they send out an email to our entire staff every 2 weeks. And they explain their fundamental and what that means to them. And it circulates every 2 weeks within our company.
It's always somebody different.
There's always somebody different.
Brilliant.
It's always different. And we're circulating it every few weeks within our organization. And it's phenomenal. I mean, to get the emails every couple weeks and get the emails back from the employees responding to the fundamental that went out, it's great. It's great.
Give me an example, if you recall, from last week what the fundamental was. I've never heard this. This is totally new to me. This is a great idea.
One might be dress for success. Yeah. Okay, I remember that was a recent one. The way you dress, the way you present yourself in front of your clients, in front of the rest of the team.
So that goes out as an email. And people start talking about it, and it generates conversation for the week.
Sure, it goes out as an email. It explains what their fundamental was for that time period, and what it means to them personally. What does dress for success mean to if I'm sending out at that, and then you get feedback from the rest of the team, and that's terrific. Great reminder. Thanks for sending that. And and that creates culture. I mean, that also creates that culture that you want within your business.
It goes back to that common bond.
And really just reiterating what is important for us in the business. What are those things that are really important for us? So and by the way, for new employees that come in, it's phenomenal. I mean,
feels great.
It feels great.
Right. And you guys are very much you're in people's homes, right? I mean, you're in the design business, right? So it isn't like you're all just sitting around in an office all day. I mean, there's a lot of diversity in where people are working and different kinds of clients. And so the clients feel this. When you first meet a new client, they feel this energy that you guys are building in this culture. And that's all they feel. And that's really attractive, like to want to come work with you, but also to spread the word about your company. The whole thing is like a really awesome ecosystem.
It really is, and it's made a world of difference in retaining employees, recruiting employees, and just the general feeling within the business with our team. It's been fun.
So tell me, in the past 7 years, has all of this dialed back to increasing revenue? Are you guys growing? By the way, this is a really difficult time the past 2 years. So actually take me through that too. Like the past 2 years, COVID, right? So we're almost 2 years into it. You guys are in a business that's really like dependent on people like participating.
Yeah, it's amazing. We really, it'd be shocking in a way. We really never missed a beat. We were able to pivot and all of us were able to work home remotely. Right. We were able to do presentations to our clients digitally. So we really never, in person, we were able to navigate the business and work the business. We would send samples, whether it's fabrics or wallpapers, directly from our vendor to the client. So we were able to work in the virtual world during COVID. And you got to imagine, everybody was home looking at their four walls and saying, honey, we got to do something. We got to do something with our house. So anything in home improvement the last couple of years has really done very well. So our residential side has done well. In 2019, at the end of 2019, we launched a commercial and hospitality division. So we've always done residential interior design, and that's really what we're known for. But felt that there was an opportunity in the market to get involved in commercial and hospitality.
What do you mean specifically? Like
country clubs, hotels, restaurants.
So designing their
space,
like their space where it could be the dining rooms, it could be the meeting rooms.
Sure. So if you're dealing, so many of our clients we deal with are in condo communities, and they may be on the board of that condo community, and they would come to us and say, "You guys did such a phenomenal job with our space. We'd like you to do our amenity spaces, our common areas of our," and we were never in that world. Although it's designed, commercial and residential are very different.
So the demand found you.
And the demand found us, and we felt like would be able to diversify our portfolio. You have residential and you have commercial. It was a phenomenal opportunity. Um, but when residential was really strong during COVID and we're launching a new business in commercial and hospitality, COVID really hurt that industry in a big way. And so we're launching a brand new business 90 days before COVID, which was just unbelievably challenging.
It actually sounds like it worked out well for you guys. And I'm curious. So, like, I think that it sounds like you're saying no more driving around or doing things remotely. So the productivity or the efficiency, now you're sending things to people rather than having people get in cars and drive around. You wouldn't have thought about like changing the business in that way, but now it's forced upon you. Actually seems like it's a way better way to run the business. Yeah, and are people still okay with it?
Listen, COVID has taught us a lot of things, and some things for the negative, some things for the positive. There were things that it forced us to do, and so to work more digitally. Everything we do today, we do on the Google Drive, so it's right there, and any of our employees anywhere, whether they're on their phone or they're at home, they can work and work efficiently. So it taught us a lot of things that made us better and made us more efficient as a company.
It's interesting when you say check your ego at the door, because I've heard now 3 times where you've talked about pivoting. You've pivoted things. This is a big one. It was a difficult time 2 years ago, but you saw an opportunity. Granted, it kind of came to you because people wanted certain things a certain way, but you could have been ego driven and been like, this is how we do it. This is the way we've done it. And not seeing the opportunity, like, kind of tunnel vision, but you have this way about you where you are open to things and you do listen to other people and you see opportunities and you pivot without being stuck on what you did before. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, you can't. I'm of the mindset you can't do everything the same way. You always have to evolve. You always have to change, and we're always, as a company, looking to get better in the way we do anything, whether it's our process, the way we greet our clients when they come in. We're always looking to find ways that we can improve upon. One of the things that we did during COVID was I always acted as the visionary and the integrator within the business. And as a CEO, as a leader of a business, you can't do both. You can't be good at both. And I really found myself more of the visionary. That's
serious right there.
Yeah, I really found myself more as the visionary, and I wasn't as good integrating than creating the vision for the company. And so I recognized that, and we hired a COO during COVID, a phenomenal gal, lady who has her MBA, and we brought her in to really implement and integrate, the vision. And she's been doing a phenomenal job.
Is there any point along the way where you felt, I can't do this, it's too much?
No.
Never
felt that way. Was there a feeling of being overwhelmed that this is tough? But I love challenge.
How do you get through that though? We all have those days, right? You got the weight on your shoulders. There's some days where it's like, what do you say to other entrepreneurs, other CEOs, who don't know how to get through that?
Yeah, I listen. I think that number one is you can't ever give up. You can't ever say, hey, you know what, this is beyond me. It's about succeeding and leading. There's always going to be those days that are going to be challenging and tough. We all have them. It's part of the deal. I mean, especially at the very top,
very true.
You have that. So it can be lonely there sometimes. But you know what? You talk to your mentors, you talk to your friends, you get advice. Those are the things when things become really tough for me. I find myself talking to the people that are really important mentors around me, to help me through that, and usually that does it.
That's key, man. That's key advice. So now, what do you say to the 25-year-old version of you now? Now you've learned all of these lessons, right? You've made tons of mistakes, right? Learn from them.
Yeah, listen. I think for me, it's surrounding yourself with really good people, and you hear that all the time. But I can tell you that having good people around you is really really important. It is key, and having uh, the right people around you, and good people are really really probably one of the most important things I find, and I found within the business and growing the business, is having the right people.
I just got to read some of the things to you that I've written down because we took you touch on a lot. So first of all, the ability to pivot, we talked about it a few times. Culture, you keep hitting on culture, and it's really really important. The toxicity versus the total opposite of that, whatever the word is. It's flow, maybe a flow state where you're all on the same page. The ability to really touch people, to be understood, and to have other people feel understood. Like everything you're talking about and you've talked about goes back to people. And what you talked about as far as being a visionary, a leader versus a manager, two totally different things, which you pointed out. And I think that many people out there in your position, in my position, that are leading companies struggle with that. So I'm glad you touched on that. That's really important.
Yeah, that and I think we touched on it a little bit. Is that I found that I couldn't do everything. I
What do you
can't.
mean?
I
You
can't
can't do
do.
it all?
I can't do it all. I can't do it all. And quite frankly, I'm not great at everything. So you find those people that are good at what they do. You put them in the position to succeed, and in that place. And that is those are the things that are really important. That I found along the way, within this crazy journey.
And you talked about systems and processes. That kind of brings all those pieces together. There's people that I was talking to a couple of days ago who and that conversation came up. It's about, well, I'm going to start a business, and what's the most important thing you do in the beginning? And it's like you need a system in place. You need to begin with the end in mind. Like, where are you taking this? Where is this going? Or maybe let's say that you're kind of along the way a little bit. Hang on a sec. The truck in the background's too loud. You have to cut this part out. I couldn't even hear myself just now. All right. You guys good? All right. I forgot the question. What did I just say? Oh, yeah. So the idea of having the end in mind, right? And so maybe you're along the way, it's a couple of years, and you realize, all right, something doesn't feel right. It's like back up, and do I have the systems in place, the people? You could say the right people, the right processes. Those two things underneath it all drive everything. And I'm taking that away from what you're saying.
Yeah, I can tell you, Matt, in the beginning, 2016, as I'm leading the company, I found that the business was kind of running me, rather than running the business. And so EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, really helped me gain more control over the business, where I'm running the business rather than it running me. And so by the ability to implement these key components within the business was really a game changer, not only for me but for everybody within the business.
And this is the value, right? This is this conversation we're able to share with people. Like, there's ups and downs in business. There's all these things to really think about when you're leading a business. But at the end of the day, it's having good people around you, having the processes in place, and being able to focus on actually having momentum and keeping that vision moving forward versus stalling. And all of a sudden, you're stagnating. And I guess it's been said, I've heard people say, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. But it's also if you're not moving, if you're just kind of like on a treadmill, you're moving backward. So you've got it. You've got the system in place, and I want to congratulate you, man. What a great story! Awesome story. what do you want to leave us with? Give me the one tip you can give to somebody who's watching about running their business successfully.
Yeah, there's so much there. Listen, number one is you have to have that passion and that drive. I mean, that's a key. That's a key deal. Is really that fire in your belly every day to get up and love it. And I have that fire in the belly, and that's
I can feel it when you're talking.
That's that drive. But really, I think if there's anybody, especially within a small business, I think mentors and being involved, whether it's Vistage or another group, and getting involved and learning and networking through that is critical. I think it's really important.
With that, I want you to look into that camera right there and tell people where they can find you.
4501 North Federal Highway in Boca Raton. Our website is www.interiorsbybrown.com.
Awesome. Dude, thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Great advice.
Enjoyed it.
Glad you had a good time. Thank you.